Never trust someone who smiles too easily. I learned that the hard way. When I first met Daniel, he seemed like the kind of guy every man wanted as a friend. Charismatic, confident, the life of every room he walked into. He had this charm that made people trust him instantly, and for a while, I did too. We met at work, and within a month we were inseparable. We talked about everything: dreams, failures, women, money, even fears we'd never told anyone else. He was my brother and all but blood. Or so I thought. We both had dreams of starting something bigger than the 9-to-5 grind, a business of our own. He had the ideas, I had the skills. We decided to go for it, a small digital marketing startup. I threw in every dollar I'd saved over the years, and he matched it. Or at least, that's what he said. We worked day and night, building websites, landing clients, chasing invoices. Everything seemed perfect until it wasn't. The first crack appeared when I noticed a few payments missing from our shared account. Daniel brushed it off. "Accounting mistake," he said with that same easy smile. I wanted to believe him. After all, this was Daniel, my best friend. But that uneasy feeling in my gut wouldn't go away. Weeks passed, and the tension grew. He started coming in late, taking mysterious calls outside, whispering names I didn't recognize. Then one day, I got a message from one of our biggest clients. "Thanks for the great work, Daniel. Looking forward to more projects directly with you." My blood ran cold. I opened our company email, and it was gone, completely empty. He'd transferred everything: clients, payments, contacts, even our business domain, into his own name. I tried calling him, texting him, emailing him, nothing. He vanished like a ghost, leaving me broke, angry, and humiliated. I sat in that empty office, surrounded by papers and broken trust, and I swore to myself I'd never let anyone get that close again. But then something strange happened a few months later. I started receiving messages from unknown numbers. Screenshots, bank transfers, even photos of Daniel with people I'd never seen before. Someone was watching him, someone wanted me to see what he was up to. And that's when I realized this wasn't over. The first message came late at night, a single image of Daniel sitting at an expensive rooftop bar, laughing with two men in dark suits. No text, no explanation, just the picture. I stared at it for a long time, my hands shaking. It felt like a bad dream, like someone was dangling a piece of bait in front of me. The next day, another message appeared, a bank transfer screenshot showing thousands of dollars moving between offshore accounts, Daniel's name right there in the details. I didn't know who was sending them, but every time my phone buzzed, a new piece of the puzzle dropped into place. There were photos of cars, properties, even a small private jet. It was like he'd built an entire empire from the money he stole from me. The rage I felt was like nothing I'd ever known, but mixed with it was something else: curiosity. Why show me this? What did they want from me? One night, a message came with words instead of pictures. "Meet me tomorrow. 9 p.m., Pier 14. That was it. No name, no signature. Just an address and a time. I barely slept that night. Every possible scenario raced through my mind. Was it Daniel, trying to lure me into some trap? Was it the police? Or maybe someone else he'd crossed, looking to use me as bait? By the time the sun rose, I'd already decided I was going. The pier was deserted when I arrived. Cold wind whipped off the water, carrying the smell of salt and rust. I waited, scanning the shadows, every creak of the dock making my heart jump. And then I saw her, a tall woman in a black coat, sunglasses hiding her eyes even though it was night. She walked straight toward me like she already knew everything about me. "You've been watching him," I said before she even opened her mouth. She smiled faintly. "Not exactly. He's been watching you." Her voice was low, steady, the kind of voice that made you want to believe her. She handed me an envelope. Inside were more documents, contracts, photos, proof of every dirty deal Daniel had made since the day he disappeared. "He's not who you think he is," she said. And he's about to make a move you can't even imagine. My hands were trembling as I flipped through the papers. Offshore accounts, shell companies, fake identities. Daniel had built an empire of lies. But at the bottom of the stack was something worse, my name. My photo, my address. He's setting you up, she said softly. If you don't stop him now, you'll go down for everything. I looked up from the papers, my heart pounding. Why are you helping me? She leaned in closer. Because you're not the first person he's done this to. But you might be the last. That was the moment I knew. I wasn't just dealing with betrayal anymore. I was at the center of a war I didn't even know existed, and Daniel wasn't just a thief. He was something far more dangerous. I left the pier that night with the envelope clutched to my chest like it was my only lifeline. My head spun with the woman's words, her warning echoing over and over. By the time I got home, my apartment felt different, smaller, darker, like even the walls knew I was in danger. I locked the door, drew the blinds, and spread the documents across the table. Every page screamed deception. Daniel had built fake charities, funneled money through shell companies, and tied everything back to people who didn't even know they were involved. And there I was, woven through it all, a perfect scapegoat. If I didn't act soon, my name would be the one dragged through courtrooms and headlines. I tried calling him, but his number was disconnected. His old social media accounts were gone. Even mutual friends said they hadn't seen him in months. It was like he'd erased himself from the map. But there was one thing he couldn't erase: the memories of our friendship. The places only we knew. The secrets only we shared. That night, I drove to the edge of the city where we used to meet, an abandoned drive-in theater with a crumbling screen and rows of cracked pavement. We'd spent hours there as kids, dreaming about how we'd make it big. I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd come back to the place where it all began. As I sat there in my car, headlights off, I noticed something strange. A black SUV parked a few rows behind me, its engine idling. No one got out, no one moved. The windows were tinted too dark to see inside, but I could feel eyes on me, watching. I pretended not to notice, pulling my hood up and walking toward the screen like I was just wandering. My heart was hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. If they were here for me, I had nowhere to run. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a flash. A man stepping out of the SUV, tall, broad shoulders, moving with deliberate slowness. My chest tightened. Even in the dim light, I recognized the way he walked. It was Daniel. For a second, all the rage, fear, and grief inside me collided. Part of me wanted to scream, another part wanted to run, but I stayed frozen. He stopped a few feet away, hands in his pockets, a cold smile spreading across his face. "You should have stayed out of it," he said softly, almost like a whisper. "You had your life, you had your chance, now you're in my world." I stared at him, struggling to speak. "Why me? After everything we've been through." He tilted his head, that same smug smile still there. "Because you were perfect, trusting, loyal, easy to build around. And when it's over, you'll take the fall, not me." The sound of my heartbeat drowned out everything else. In that moment, I realized the woman at the pier had been right. This wasn't just about betrayal. Daniel had turned me into a pawn in a game I didn't even know I was playing, and now the board was closing in. I didn't remember running, only the pounding of my shoes on the cracked pavement and the sound of the SUV door slamming behind me. Daniel shouted my name, but I didn't look back. My breath burned, my vision blurred. I just knew I had to get away. By the time I reached the main road, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown number. Against every instinct, I answered. "Don't hang up," a woman's voice said. It was her, the woman from the pier. "You need to listen to me carefully. He's not working alone." "What do you mean?" I gasped, still running. "There's a whole network behind him. They're laundering millions, and you're the perfect cover, clean record, believable history. You're the only one who can expose them, but you have to move fast. They're already erasing the evidence." I ducked into a dark alley, leaning against a wall to catch my breath. "How do you even know all this? I used to be one of them," she said quietly. "Until I found out what they really do to people who get in their way." Her words sent a chill through me. "So, what do I do? Meet me tomorrow night? 10 p.m., the old train yard near the river. Bring everything you have, the documents, the envelope, everything. But come alone. If they see you with anyone, it's over." The call ended before I could ask anything else. I stared at my phone, the city lights flickering in the distance, trying to decide if I could trust her. She'd saved me once, or at least tried to. But what if she was setting me up? All night, I couldn't sleep. Every noise outside made me flinch. Every car that passed felt like a threat. By morning, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely make coffee. I kept replaying Daniel's words in my head, "Now you're in my world." When night finally came, I drove to the train yard. The place was massive, a maze of rusted tracks and abandoned freight cars. Fog rolled in from the river, swallowing everything in a ghostly haze. I parked the car, grabbed the envelope, and started walking. The air was thick with silence. My footsteps echoed, mixing with the distant creak of metal. Then movement. A shadow darted between the cars. I spun around, heart racing. "Hello," I called out. No answer. Just the wind whistling through the rails. Then I saw her, the woman from the pier, stepping out from the fog. Her face looked tense, eyes darting behind me. "You weren't followed," she whispered. "I don't think so," I said, my voice shaking. She motioned for me to hand over the envelope. I hesitated. "I need to know who you are first," she sighed. "My name's Claire. I used to handle Daniel's offshore accounts. I tried to stop him. That's why he's after me too. Now give me the papers and we can end this before it's too late." But before I could respond, a bright beam of light cut through the fog. Headlights, engines, the sound of tires on gravel. Claire's face went pale. They found us. I sat there, staring at the text messages still glowing on my screen. My hands were trembling, but not from fear anymore. It was something else, an odd mix of adrenaline and clarity. For the first time in weeks, my mind wasn't clouded. She had crossed a line, one that couldn't be uncrossed. The house felt eerily quiet as I waited for her to come back. Every tick of the clock echoed like a warning. The door finally opened. She walked in, her expression unreadable. She looked at me, then at the phone in my hand. No words, just a silent standoff. My heart was pounding, but my face stayed calm. I had rehearsed this moment in my head, and now it was real. "You're back late," I said, my voice steady. She hesitated, then forced a smile. "Traffic." I held up the phone. "Don't lie to me anymore." For a second, she froze. Her eyes darted to the screen, and I saw her whole mask crack. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. I stood up, keeping my distance. "You thought I wouldn't find out," I continued, my voice low but firm. "You thought you could live to lives without me noticing. But you underestimated me." Tears welled up in her eyes, but I didn't move closer. This wasn't the time for sympathy. She started to explain, a tangle of excuses spilling out, but I raised a hand and she stopped. "I'm done," I said. "I'm done being the fool. You made your choice, and now I'm making mine." I walked past her, grabbed the packed bag I'd hidden by the door earlier, and headed out without looking back. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I just left because sometimes silence is louder than any argument. The cool night air hit my face as I stepped onto the street. It felt like breathing for the first time. I didn't know where I was going yet, but for once it didn't matter. My phone buzzed behind me, her name lighting up the screen, but I didn't answer. As I walked away, the weight I'd been carrying started to lift. My life was mine again. The betrayal had burned me, but it hadn't broken me. It had taught me. And as the city lights blurred ahead, I realized this wasn't the end of my story. It was the start of something new, something stronger. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was free.